Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Road to the Draft, your supplementary podcast to our flagship British and Irish Eagles podcast, where me, your host, Mike McGivern, takes you through what's happening in the college football world, what's happening on the road up to the NFL draft in 2025, which we're all very excited about. But of course, our beloved birds, have made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Oh my God! I barely even want to look at college prospects myself, but I mean, I'm here. I'm here to provide a service. I'm here to do a job. I know everyone's excited for the Super Bowl, 2 weeks' time. Can't wait myself. But if you want to take maybe your mind off it, listen to me ramble on for give or take 25, 30 minutes. Buckle in and we'll get there. So without further, I'll just go through the Eagles draft picks for this year very quickly. So we have a first round pick, a second round pick, a third round pick, fourth, and 3 fifth-round picks, and that's not changed from the last couple of weeks. Very little movement going on in that direction. But what has been different, what has changed over the last week or so, is that we actually have things going on in terms of draft prospects and profiles. So if you didn't already know, the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl have kicked off. There's a lot of coverage, obviously, of the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. The game will be played on February the 1st on Saturday. You'll be able to catch that live on the NFL Network. But throughout this week, you'll see, if you switch over to the NFL Network, it'll be a bit about Eagles and Kansas City as they preview the Super Bowl, but also they'll have an eye on Mobile, Alabama, because we have the next generation of talent coming up. These guys will be fighting for their place on the draft board. They can make some amount of money this week, doing themselves some favours in Mobile, Alabama, putting on a show for all the talent scouts that go down there. Just having a look at the American and the national rosters. So there's 2 rosters, the 2 teams, the national and the American, and there's quite a lot of talent this year at this year's Senior Bowl, if I do say so myself. I'm just starting off with the quarterbacks for the American offense. You have Jackson Dart, who's the quarterback from Ole Miss. I expect him to rise up the draft boards at least this week, if not up towards April as we get to the draft. There's always a few risers. Like Jackson Dart he has such a powerful arm on him, and it'll be quite impressive. I think that usually is the thing that impresses people, even though there's no pressure on the players, but he can chuck a ball 50 yards downfield to an open receiver, and people just eat that up all day long. And he's pretty young as well. I think he's only 20 years old, maybe 21 in his rookie season. So very young player. He's got it all in front of him. Jalen Milroe's another one who's in the American offense. He declared for the NFL draft as a junior from the University of Alabama. I'm not sure. Will he'll end up in this draft process. I think quarterbacks are hard to determine where they'll be picked up. A lot of teams like to just take pot shots at quarterbacks because they've got a need there. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near top. We're not talking top 5 or top 10, even 15. I'm thinking if Jalen Milroe comes off the draft board, it's going to be sneaking into the end of the first round, or probably the second round, most likely the second round. On the other side, on the national roster, you've got Dylan Gabriel, who I think's turning 45 in his rookie season, the quarterback from Oregon. He's been around college football for quite some time, so he's run out of eligibility and is heading to the draft this year as well. But and again, it could be another player who has quite a lot of experience at the college level and can come into an NFL roster and start straight away. I mean, look at what Bo Nix has achieved in Denver just this season, and that becomes from all of his experience that he's had in the NFL. You see a lot of guys come in to the league and they've only had 1 year playing full time. You know, they've maybe redshirted 1 year and they've sat on the bench, or they've came in for some games and they've only played like a full season or a season and a half of football in college and then come into the NFL. It's a faster game, harder to pick up, and they just fall flat on their faces. You know, we saw that with the quarterback from South Dakota, whose name I've totally forgotten. Uh, Drafted third overall by the 49ers, and then he's landed in Dallas for, I think, a sixth round pick, and he's absolutely terrible, and he's never got his career kick-started, and, you know, the coaches in the NFL failed him. He just wasn't ready for it. He probably would have benefited from another year in college, but he chose to go to the draft. I mean, you strike while the iron's hot, as they say, so you can go and make that money. But the NIL in college football, that's changing a lot of things. Guys are willing to stay behind another year, especially quarterbacks, because they can potentially make more money in college football than they will in the NFL. If they don't have much stock going into the NFL draft, the rookie um, salary for a quarterback in the third, fourth, fifth round isn't much. I mean, to me it is, but to them it isn't, and they can probably make a lot more in NIL and in the college landscape. These universities are willing to pay top dollar now for a competent quarterback, and it can take them all the way, especially with this expanded 12-team playoffs. So that's the quarterbacks on the both rosters. I won't go on too much further into it. I know I'm nearly 7 minutes into the podcast already, and I haven't even began really, but I'll go over some quite interesting prospects. So we'll stick with the American offense at the moment. Got Trevor Etienne from Georgia. He's a running back. I also like who else do I like? I like Jack Betch, the wide receiver from TCU. Interestingly enough, Jack Betch, his brother sadly passed away in the incident that happened a couple of months ago at the New Orleans, the terror incident. His brother died at that, which is a damn shame. But hopefully he recovers from that and has a nice career. Jake Bringing, still the tight end from Clemson, I quite like him. Emery Jones from LSU, of course, we covered him on the episode last week. Who else do we have? We have on the defensive side of the ball, Trey Amos from Ole Miss, the cornerback, quite like him. Safeties, Caleb Branshaw from Tulane, I quite like the look of him. Jack Kaiser, Notre Dame linebacker, of course. Dion Walker, who we previewed last week as well, the inside defensive tackle from Kentucky. Walter Nolan, also from Ole Miss, is another defensive lineman. TJ Sanders from South Carolina, another defensive lineman. The defensive linemen are quite stacked this year. Shamar Stewart, the edge from Texas A&M. RJ Oben from Notre Dame. I'm just going to shout out my Notre Dame guys. On the national roster, we've also got Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech, the running back, quite like him. Xavier Restrepo, the wide receiver from Miami. I think he's going to make a lot of money this week. Jaden Higgins as well from Iowa, another wide receiver. Tess Johnson from Oregon. Harold Fannin, the tight end who we previewed on episode 1, he's going to be there in the national offense. Looking over at the defensive side of the ball, we also have Jalen Smith from USC, he's a cornerback. Other cornerbacks, Darian Porter for Iowa State, yeah, he had a decent season. Inside defensive line, yeah, I think a lot of the talent is on the American roster more than the national, if I do say so myself. Landon Jackson, the edge from Arkansas, he's on the roster. David Walker, Central Arkansas, it's a player I'm actually going to preview in this episode. So keep your ears out for that one. And Mike Green from Marshall as well, another edge prospect. There's it's quite a deep edge class and quite deep defensive tackle class. So the defensive line's a deep defensive line class. This one, and a lot of the talent is at the Senior Bowl. So keep your eyes open for all the action that's going on in the Senior Bowl this week. It will be all covered on the usual NFL Network. You'll see probably clips on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, all that sort of stuff. That will be previewing that, and it will, of course, it'll all come together for the game itself on Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of exciting stuff going on. I want to take what's next. I want to take just a little minute here just to talk about the CFP National Championship as well, because I'm not going to hide from it. I spoke last week, of course. Notre Dame played Ohio State to win it all in Georgia, and Notre Dame came up short. And it's just, I mean, yeah, it was gutted at the time. It was such a hard fought story for the program, and we did really well to get where we got. If you'd told me at the start of the season we'd won two major bowls, with the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl, I would have taken I'd have taken that all day. With a trip to the national championship game, I'd have taken that all day. But in the end, Ohio State were just too strong. Just too strong. They have a roster filled with talent. A lot of those guys returned back this the previous year of college football because they wanted to stay behind to win it all. And they just had too much across the board. They dominated Notre Dame. We can admit that. They dominated throughout the entire playoffs. And hats off to them. They were the better team on the night. And they proved it. Yeah, they proved it. So, congratulations, Ohio State. Hopefully, we'll maybe meet again next year. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. There's a lot. There's a lot going to happen over the off season, of course, with both programs losing a lot of talent to the draft, of course, and how you replenish that with the incoming freshman class. So. Yeah, I just wanted to take some time to speak about the national championship, but it was just the playoffs itself. It was such a celebration. The whole thing was phenomenal. I really enjoyed the playoffs, and long may it continue in this 12-team format. I think they're looking at maybe shaking up how they present the seedings and things like that. But as a product, from where it's shifted from the last X number of years, where we just had the four teams, we played the semis and then the national championship. It's a million miles better from where we were a couple of years ago, and not only because it benefited me, personally speaking, as a Notre Dame fan. We wouldn't have made the national championship if it wasn't for the expanded playoff this year. So grateful for that, and grateful for the run that we went on. It was yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, so the first prospect I want to speak about in this episode is David Walker, a defensive end from Central Arkansas. He comes in at 6'2", 260 pounds. He is performing at this week's Senior Bowl. So keep an eye out for this guy. Yeah, so as I said, David Walker, Central Arkansas. And when I first thought about talking about this guy, it was because you need to show some love to FCS teams sometimes. FCS is often looked at as the second tier, the ugly sister of the college football FBS programs. Of course, the FBS is always really spoken about. That's the Division One NCAA football bowl system, where you have the national championship. You have the power five, the group of five. All your Georgias, Alabamas, Notre Dames, Arkansas's, SEC. All the power conferences, all the teams you've heard of, really. But then you move to FCS, and it's all the teams you necessarily won't have heard of. But the players make it to the league from these teams. They're not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. But David Walker, let's show this guy some love. So he's a 3-year starter in college. He's racked up 30 career sacks, 12 of those sacks coming in 2024 on 55 pressures, with 4 forced fumbles and 5 pass deflections. This guy is a menace on the defensive line, and he is just such a absolute playmaker. He's a playmaker on the edge. But I mean, this as a prospect, we're not talking about a guy who's going in the first round. This is a prospect we're looking at, in the third, fourth possible rounds. We're looking at possibly a day 3 pick with this one. Because it's not all about the sexy and glamour of the first round or the second round, of course. We've got to preview some of the lesser known guys. I mean, just look at Jelix Hunt. We plucked him out of absolute thin air, and he's contributed to the Eagles this season. So I'm sure you can uncover a few of these gems. Now, this guy has been Conference Defensive Player of the Year for the last 3 years. 2022 was the Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He made the All-Conference team. Same again in 2023 and the same again in 2024. This guy is consistent, if nothing else. The good, he's dense, he's explosive, and he's mean. This guy is, I think, his best asset is his power. Which sort of brings me on to his damn right sexy. His damn right sexy is his bull rush. This guy gets offensive tackles off their spot. He will knock them on their arse. You may have concerns about level of opposition of the offensive tackles, but that's what the Senior Bowl's for. Let's watch him how he performs this week against some of the best that the FBS has to offer. Or not the best, they don't all go to the Senior Bowl, but I mean they've got some standout offensive tackles this week, and I'm sure there'll be some exciting 1-on-1s for David Walker to show out on that. Of course, it's not all good. The concerns about David would be his length, his ability to turn the corner or bend round an offensive tackle. That's not really his game. His power, his game is more in the bull rush. It's in power. It's in strength. It's in domination. So David Central Arkansas, David Walker, Central Arkansas. Keep your eyes out for that name in the NFL draft later on. All right. So prospect number 2. Now I'll stick at the edge position. I think edge is going to be one of our needs in this year's upcoming draft. I'm going to look at a higher rated prospect. So David Walker, which I think could be a fabulous pickup towards the end of the draft and day 3 pick of the draft. But if we're looking at a day 1 prospect, look maybe no further than JT Tuimoloau. Easy for me to say, Tuimoloau, also known affectionately as JTT, a defensive end, as I said, from Ohio State, a national champion. This guy will be one of the top edge prospects, well sought out. He's an absolute athletic freak. An athletic freak. He flies around the line of scrimmage, and he just pops off the screen. If you look at any Ohio State game, especially the Penn State, when Ohio played Penn State, he wrecked that game almost single-handedly. And this is a team filled with stars on it, and he stood out the brightest of those stars. He's a Big Ten first team 2 years in a row. Had 51 pressures, 15 sacks. He's only going to be 21 years old on draft weekend, so there's still so much potential with this guy. And of course, five-star recruit coming out of high school when Ohio State recruited him, and he's met expectations, and he's only going to get better in the NFL at the next level. So this is a guy who, yeah, I'll say it. Take him in the first round. If he's still on the draft board in the first round, run that ticket up. Run that ticket up. Is it potentially one of those prospects you could see starts to fall down the draft board if, you know, how he's thinking, is this guy going to come off one or two early? Is it a potential trade up candidate? I wouldn't be angry. I wouldn't be angry at a trade up for JT Tuimoloau. I mean, might struggle to say his name. I'd love to hear Liam say it on the podcast, if for nothing else. Draft this guy just so we can hear Liam say it. But JTT is an absolute shagger, and he could be fighting for that title on our flagship. So yeah, another guy who again has dominated in his career so far in college football. 6'5", 269 pounds of absolute athletic freakishness is big JTT. So that's prospect at number 2 to get your teeth into. Okay, so the third and final prospect that I'm here to talk about today. I thought I'd go cornerback on this one. This is quite a deep cornerback class as well. And I did a simulation mock draft on PFF just to see, where the draft boards are headed so far, and where guys are generally falling to. And I went through the machine a couple of times, tinkering with the settings and so on. And Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas, fell to me on a number of occasions. Some people think this guy could go in the top 20. Others maybe see the end of the first round, maybe even start of the second round. So I think his stock is sort of up in the air a little bit. So, but we're looking probably between the 15 and 35 range. I don't think any further than that would be a bit of a travesty. But Jahdae Barron, again, I say cornerback from the University of Texas. Longhorns done well this season, getting all the way to taking Ohio State to the Cotton Bowl in the college football semi-final, but just didn't quite have enough to get there. Ohio State just an absolute juggernaut this year, and demolished anyone who got in their way in the 12-team playoff. Barron comes in at 5'11", 200 pounds. Predominantly over the first couple of years of his career, played at slot corner, but was moved to outside this past season, 2024, earning first team All ACC honours as earning first team All SEC honours and the Jim Thorpe Award for the best defensive back in college football. My laptop is telling me it's about to die, so I'll need to pause the podcast real quick. And I'm back. Charger found. So, where was I? Yeah, he won the Jim Thorpe Award for the best defensive back in college football. This guy is pretty versatile, as I said. He's worked out the slot. He's taken snaps at safety as well, and of course he played outside corner for most of the college season this past year in 2024, and enters the 2025 NFL draft as one of the top cornerback prospects. Again, his ball skills all day. This guy is a playmaker, and he's got an eye for the football. Plays with excellent anticipation on the quarterbacks. Had 5 interceptions this past season. He earned an overall grade, according to PFF, of 90.8. So a blue chip player in their eyes. How far he falls in the draft, he certainly fell to me in the mock draft machines on a number of occasions. So it wasn't just one off the cuff, but it's happened a number of times now. So again, would the Eagles look at the cornerback position again, making it 3 real high draft picks in a row for cornerbacks, having just taken Quinyon Mitchell, having just taken Cooper DeJean. In last year's draft, two guys who hit the ground running for Philadelphia, who, if we didn't have in this roster, I don't think we'd be in the Super Bowl. That's how good these guys have been. Quinyon has just been a shutdown corner, and Cooper DeJean has just been an absolute dominant playmaker in the slot. And night and day from Avonte Maddox, as we've seen for the first couple of games of the season when Cooper was on the sideline. Cooper came into the defence and made a world of difference. Does Howie go back and look for another cornerback? I mean, this is on that. What is in the future for Darius Slay? Do we know if he's coming back to Philadelphia? He doesn't seem to think he's coming back to Philadelphia. He thinks he may have played his last game for us. He may have played his last game at the Link, I should say, in the championship game against the Washington Commanders. Is he going to end it all if we win the big one? If we win the chip, when we win the chip against Kansas City in a couple of weeks' time? I think he said he would like to play for another year. Whether that's in Philadelphia or not remains to be seen. I think there's a bit of cap manipulation to go on there, but if Slay does go, do you stick out Isaiah Rodgers out wide? Do you try and make Keely Ringo the CB2? Do you promote Cooper DeJean out wide from the slot? Or do you look at the draft again, you see a guy like Jahdae Barron fall to number 32 overall and think, yeah, this is BPA time, or the edge rushers that we like came off the board. We have a sneaky need at cornerback, perhaps. Let's go for it. Run the ticket. Jahdae Barron, cornerback, University of Texas. Who knows? But it'll be fun finding out on the night which way we're going to go. But it certainly could be food for thought of dipping into this position yet again, as I say. Whether or not how he goes for that remains to be seen. But that's us. We're at the end of the podcast. I'll try and put episode 4 out sooner than I put episode 3 out. There was a bit of a gap. I've been just a bit busy over the last couple of weeks, so hopefully tighten that up a little bit just to go over the prospects that we covered. That was David Walker, defensive end from Central Arkansas. We covered JT Tuimoloau, the defensive end from Ohio State, and of course Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas. So thank you very much for listening. As always, appreciate any feedback that you've got for me. Go Birds, and good night.